Hello there everyone and welcome to a new review on the channel. And today we will be looking at a relatively new product, and that is the Fortune deck or Deck of Fortune by Montier and Big Blind Media. This is a very interesting product that I think is very good for certain situations, but one that may fall short in other situations and for some other people that I do think it has some gripes that you do have to contend with before purchasing. So I will explain all of that to you, both the bad and the very good. So let's roll the intro and get straight into it. Perfect, so you decided to stick around, which means you want to learn more about the Deck of Fortune. So what is the Deck of Fortune? It's essentially a past, present, future routine. So I know we're all familiar with the Rick Lax one and how it works and everything about that, and that it's a good routine. But personally, even though that one has some advantages, this one has some advantages as well, because it is, I think, much more direct and is much more free in the selection of the cards that you're giving your spectator. And I think the best way for me to showcase to you this routine is to actually perform it for you. So what we're going to do now is we're going to cut to a small performance of me doing the effect. Okay, so for the performance of this, you would remove from your little bag or from wherever you want to remove 3 cards. And on these cards, you will tell your spectator that you have written different things. On one of them, you have written past. On one of them, you have written present. And on one of them, you have written future. And these are going to play a role in a moment, because what you have here is a very interesting deck that you can use to give readings to people. These are not tarot cards, but for those that are familiar, before tarot cards were even a thing, playing cards were the tool of cartomancy and of giving readings. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to have you think of your past. And every single card, as you can see in this deck, I'll just spread it here. Every single card has a different meaning, different symbolism, and kind of different traits that will correspond to people in different ways. So what I'm going to have you do is I'm going to have you name any card. So let's say the spectator goes for the 6 of diamonds. So what you're going to do is you're going to just spread the deck and you're going to take out the 6 of diamonds and you tell them, look, I had you focus on your past and the 6 of diamonds came to mind. Perfect. If you want, you can also do alternatively, you just have them name a card and then you tell them, do you think this card is for your past, your present, or your future? But I much like have them focus on their past and etc. Then they focus on their present. They're going to name another card. Let's say for the sake of easiness, they name here the Ace of Clubs. So you say, perfect, the Ace of Clubs for your present. And for your past, let's say they go for 9 of Spades. You're going to spread the deck and you're going to go and find the 9 of Spades. In this moment now is where you take out and you start doing the reading. So you tell them, look, you have chosen the 6 of diamonds. The 6 of diamonds means etc., etc. Does this correspond? You give them a reading for your present and for their future. And then you tell them, look, what's very interesting here is that you had a free choice to choose any card for your past, any card for your present, and any card for your future. And there was no way before even coming here that you would know that this would happen and that you knew that I was going to ask you for certain cards, right? It fully came from you. And then you tell them, so essentially what's interesting is that I didn't show that on the back of these cards, I've actually written something. On the back of this card, I've written the 6 of diamonds. On the back of the present card, I've actually written the Ace of Clubs. And on the back of the future card, I've actually written the 9 of Spades, which is exactly the cards that you have named completely right there. The 9 of Spades, the 6 of diamonds, the Ace of Clubs, and the 9 of Spades. And that would be a quick performance of the effect. Okay, so now you've seen a quick performance of the effect. It's not the best because it doesn't go over the reading, etc. And the handling that I did is different to the one that most people would do, but I think it's one that I like a bit more, but that's my preference. Maybe you're gonna hate my handling, but it is what it is. But that is a quick performance just so you know what the effect would look like, okay? So now that you know that, where do you buy this, how much does it cost, and what do you get? So the Deck of Fortune is available pretty much anywhere. I personally got mine from ALAKAZAM Magic. If ever there's a discount code down below if you're interested, as always. It will set you back $29.99 USD, which is around 38, 39, 40 Canadian, depending on the exchange. And what you get is this. You're going to get this little bag. Inside of this little baggie, you are going to be getting your deck of fortune, which is incredibly well printed. It's a very beautiful deck. I'll even show it to you again here. You know, the back design is great, and even the faces of the cards are just fantastic. They just look very nice. They're going to allow you to do very clean readings. They even have, you know, on the top here, they have readings for you to use if you want. If you're not familiar with the meaning of the cards, you're going to get that. The box is very nice as well. And then you're also going to get your beautifully printed past, present, and future cards, which you're going to use in the routine. So in terms of props, you're getting very good props that are going to last a very long time. Additionally, you're also going to be getting a tutorial. The tutorial is with Montier himself, and it goes around, I think, 20 or so minutes. It's not a very long tutorial. It's very simple and very short and to the point because, well, the effect here is not very complicated. I think that from my performance, you already know how this works, but even from the performance in the trailer, you already know how this works. So essentially, you're buying this for the props, for the package, and for the idea that has come into this, and for the gimmick that I think we already all know what it is, because it's not something that you could build at home relatively easily. So that's something that all comes in the package with you. So yeah, the instructional video is very simple and to the point. So now that we know that, what is the difficulty of this routine? Well, this routine is relatively simple. There's only one move that I think you all know and that you're all aware of. That is the only move that you need to essentially know when you're doing this routine. It is a very simple move. It's a very classic move. It's nothing too complicated. And as I said, you can do the one that I do, which is just like the turnover version, which to some magicians may be way too obvious and not as clean, but I just like the idea of just turning it over and dumping it on the table instead of doing it with you're turning it over and you're taking away a card immediately. I just like just doing that, and I think psychologically for people just turning it over while you're talking, they won't even realize what's happening. So personally, I like to do it like that, but he does teach you a few different variations of how to do it. If you prefer to do it in the classic way or other ways, he teaches you that as well. But it's a very simple move within the grasp of anyone. So presentation-wise, you just have to put a presentation, and move-wise, you just have to do one single move at the end of the routine, and you are clean. Now, what about practicality? So to do this effect, all you're going to need is to carry around this deck and your 3 cards. Now, you can carry it around in a bag, but you don't have to. So if you want to just carry this round effect with you, you're going to take these cards. You can easily place them inside here of the tab of the box, just like this, and you just carry this around with you in your pocket, and you are good to go. But if you want, you know, for more mystique or prestige, you can carry this around like a mystery package and bring this out on the table and do your routine like that. It is up to you. But carrying capacity, it is the size of a deck of cards. In terms of repeatability, it can be repeated. In terms of angles, the angles are pretty good. You do have to worry about a few things just to make sure that some people don't necessarily are below you, for example, but overall the angles are relatively good for this. In terms of inspectability, it is not at all inspectable. Nothing here is inspectable, and that's something he covers in the tutorial. He says, look, this is what I do for to move past that or to not have things wanting to be inspected. So essentially, you know, there's ways to go beyond it. Personally, I feel that if you do this more as a reading effect, so you're focusing much more on the readings than the reveal, people won't necessarily be like, oh, okay, I want to see the cards, because the reveal was the most important part of the effect, not the kind of, you know, the reveal. So if you focus on the readings, I think that you can get away with not having people want to examine the cards. But if, however, you do play this as, I will have a prediction ready for you. Remember, I'm going to show you the most impossible prediction. And then you reveal the cards. Then maybe they're going to be enticed to look at the cards because you've played up this prediction, right? Instead of just having it as a kicker ending to the actual reading. That's something to ponder. But no, the deck is not inspectable. In terms of reset, it resets relatively quickly. Personally, I like to always have my deck in new deck order, which means that when I look for the cards, I look for them much faster. But if you want, the deck can be shuffled and you look through the cards, you know, haphazardly, which means that there's no reset. But personally, I much rather take a 5-second reset to do it and just have it in new deck order. So it's much easier for me to locate the cards. And yes, you do need a table for this effect. This is not something that you can do in the hands of the spectator. You will need a table to perform this effect. So having said that, what are the actual, where do you perform this effect? So this effect, in my opinion, is definitely designed for either personal close-up settings, so something like at someone's house, at your house, at a private venue, or in a very intimate parlor show or cabaret show. You can definitely do this in a parlor cabaret show for a larger audience, but also on stage. If you have a camera, I do think this could be a very interesting routine on stage if it's within your props and within the kind of things that interest you when you perform. I think this can be done on stage, but this is not something you're going to do table hopping, cocktail, at weddings, etc. I think this is very much more for a more relaxed environment rather than a high-paced, cutthroat environment like weddings, restaurants, etc. So having said all of this, what are the positives and negatives of the fortune deck or the deck of fortune? Let's start out as always with the negatives. 1, the deck is absolutely not inspectable, so you do have to keep in mind. As I said, there are ways to circumvent that, but if you are worried, nothing is inspectable on the table, so you have to keep that in mind. Additionally, you will also need a table for this effect, and you're going to need a bit of space, so this means that you're not going to do this at crowded cocktail parties, restaurants, etc. You're going to have to keep that in mind depending on what type of performer you are, and venues you have, if this is right for you. However, on the positives, it is a very interesting effect. There is a completely free choice for any card. If you're into tarot and cartomancy, I think it's a brilliant way to do this effect. I think that if you own Cartomancy by Luc Germain, he does have a similar kind of take on this in a part of his act. So if you want, you could actually maybe include this into the Cartomancy act by Luc Germain if you own that PDF/download. But yeah, it's relatively easy to do as well. The packaging is great, the instructions are great, and it's a fun, nifty little effect. So having said all this, would I recommend the deck of fortune, and what do I rate it out of 10? Would I recommend the deck of fortune? And I'm a bit on the edge. I think it is good, but I do think that because of the need for table space, because of the inexaminability, you are a bit limited of where you actually perform this. If you're someone that performs in venues like the Magic Castle, in those type of venues, this is going to slay in that type of environment. It's going to work perfectly. So if you are performing in those environments, I heavily recommend it. If you're also someone that's invested into cartomancy and tarot, I do think you're going to get a kick out of this. If not, I think there are better effects out there that can achieve similar, for example, as I said, Past, Present, Future by Rick Lax, and that can, be a bit more convenient to do in certain scenarios, so you can look towards those. But overall, I still think this is good. I don't think that this is bad, but I do think you do have to make and know some shortcomings before you buy this. Overall, I think it is still good. I'm giving it a 7.5 on 10. I will be performing it, but only on very special occasion, mostly when people are going to come to my house, or if I know I'm going to someone's house and they love when I give them a reading or a tarot reading, I will maybe take this and do it for them at their house. I think it's going to blow them away. So that's all I have to say about the deck of fortune. I hope that you enjoyed. If ever you have any questions, leave them down below. If not, I'll see you all in my next review. Have a great one.